Welcome back in, everybody. Another amazing week here on the Wraparound by Porch. Welcome to my porch down here in sunny Florida. But this week we've got a guy that's coming from out west, and he's a real estate investor. I know this is a home inspection podcast. This is a home inspection show, but I love to feature people from all different parts of the real estate industry because as home inspectors, we deal with people from lots of different parts of the real estate industry. And this is a individual who has gone from being a musician to now being a real estate investor. He's got a huge growing portfolio. He manages funds now for property investors. So we had an incredible conversation a while ago, and I can't wait to share that with you. He's got a new book out. Follow the link down in the description below if you'd like to buy that as well. But before we jump in, this week's episode is brought to you by Inspection Fuel Ultra. So previously, if you've been around the home inspection conference circuit, you know that there used to be the top group or summit group that used to do Inspection Super Conference up in Indianapolis, and then Inspection Support Network / ISN. They used to do Inspection Fuel. That was in Nashville last year. Well, we are merging the two this year, and it's going to become Inspection Fuel Ultra, happening September 16th through the 18th in Orlando, Florida, at Disney's Coronado Springs Resorts. It's going to be an incredible time. You get to bring your family and write it off your taxes as a business trip. A Disney trip, and you write it off your taxes. That's pretty freaking incredible. So sign up while you still can. You can actually go to the link below, inspectionfuel.com, and use the code ISN40 to get 40% off registration. So bring your family, come have a great time. Great educational courses for you as well as a home inspector so you can help take your business to the next level. So without further ado, here's Nathan Brooks.
Well, welcome in to my guest today, Mr. Nathan Brooks. I'm so excited to have you on here. I hear you've got just an incredible story. You were just telling me that you're a little bit of a bass guy yourself, so we could talk a little bit about music. We could talk a little bit about business, but I'm excited to learn what you do and what got you into it, man.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me on the podcast too. And yes, that is a sweet bass, and I love that it's actually the bass power. When you think about like everybody that loves songs, drums drive stuff, but let's be clear, bass, takes us into all those gaps sonically and rhythmically too. So
Oh, absolutely. Do you know what I love about bass the most? It's that if you listen for it, you can pick up on the talent. But most people, they feel the bass, but they don't pay attention to the bass. So if you're the bass player, you get to kind of hang in the background a little bit and just enjoy playing music without having to be the front guy, So but without it, the song falls apart.
it's definitely a totally different problem.
Yeah.
You lose those frequencies down below that really set that, whatever genre, whatever, you know, it's it's such a cool instrument, such a cool part. So yeah, I love playing it.
So tell me a little bit about yourself too. What you do and what got you into it, man.
Yeah, well, I am a reformed professional musician myself. So I played literally since fifth grade, piano and guitar, picked up or piano bass and played upright and electric bass and played all the way through college. Picked up guitar in college and did some touring, sold guitars at the local guitar shop, went around and did lessons for piano, bass, and guitar and folks' homes and all kinds of stuff. And fast forward a bit, and I actually now have a real estate investment company and written a book, which actually it just arrived today, bro. I
Oh
have
my goodness. Good
first
timing.
time. Yeah, it's crazy. So there's my wife texts me and says there's like 50 boxes outside of our garage. So yeah, so I have a real estate company and do a couple other things on the buy and hold side of real estate as well. And as a business owner, I'd say, over time my philosophy's changed a little bit, but I've just more and more and more gotten obsessed about leadership and helping people fit in their spot and what is our focus and our mission as a company, what is our focus and mission. Gosh, there's so many parallels in the music space. Like, what do we want to do as a band? How are we playing? Are we in the pocket? Is everybody lined up doing their own thing together? And there's a business book out there, Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he talks about all the people on the bus going the right direction with the right leader, right gas pedal, right brake, and so yeah, I've been really focused on that.
Solid book, man. No, that's awesome. So I used to operate in the sacred world, as well as you so aptly put it. I used to be a youth leader back in the day, and no, that's honestly why I enjoyed base so much, is because there was a, all good leaders, no matter what sector you're in, if you don't lead from a service mindset, the whole thing could fall apart. You can't build it around a personality. You can't build it around ego by any means. You have to serve people who serve. And
Yes.
anyway, going from having to be the servant leader up front to getting to just ease into the background and play bass and still participate, but not in such a focal role. Dude, I loved it for that. And home inspection was kind of the same way for me getting into home inspection, because again, it's at the tail end of the real estate process, and yet it was still so vital as well. So on that note, what drew you to real estate, coming from the music and church world, getting into the real estate world?
I think probably like 97% of the people in our age bracket, well, I'm probably older than you, but um, Rich Dad Poor Dad was a book that I kind of ran across, and at that time, early 2000s, there were so many, ads on the radio. Social media wasn't that big yet, but reading that book and getting attached to what was going on, so I started to have that pull to real estate. And I love playing, and to this day, I love playing, and I still have basses and guitars and grand piano in my living room. So it's still a huge part of my life. But I really wanted to have a bigger impact, both financially for myself, and then I had bigger philanthropy goals and stuff like that too. So I just really liked the process. I liked creating something or renovating something, and so it was really cool.
Dude, that's so good, man. No, tell me a little bit about the philanthropic goals.
So, seventh grade, eighth grade, I went to Venezuela, and since then I've probably done, I don't know, dozens and dozens of mission trips over, Central and South America and all over the U.S. too. And not to make me sound like an egomaniac, just
No,
I've
not at
been
all.
passionate about it. Yeah, been passionate about it, passionate about helping, and so and growing up in that arts world, in you look at like the football team and the basketball team, and they got the fancy jerseys, and football, gets all this attention and money. And so from the arts perspective, I've wanted to be able to give give money to, especially in the school front. Like, hey, there's a kid who wants to play violin, but they can't afford it. Let's buy it. The kid who wants to play flute, let's buy it, and find ways that we can support people who want to do those things that might not have the financial, ability to do it.
Dude, you should definitely check out the Allo family. That's an organization that I work with. They're based out of Nashville, but they operate down in San Luis, Mexico. But they're kind of the
Okay.
same thing. It's really trying to give entrepreneurs in San Luis kind of that hand up that they might not have had from
Yeah.
either a family or friends or relatives, that basically just giving them an opportunity that a lot of us have here in the US, but they don't have there, just because they don't got the support system in place. So Allo family
It's so
tries to do
true.
that. Yeah.
That's cool. I made a note, and I think what you said is it's so key because you know it's amazing to me when people in the U.S. complain about things, and I'm like, just travel, just
Oh,
travel.
tell
And
me about it. Yeah.
it in the last few years, I've been to Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, Honduras. I mean, just show up for one day in one of those places, and we have such a different, I think we can have a different respect for each other and different respect for how good we've got it.
Well, shifting back to real estate, tell me about some of the
Yep.
projects that you're working on now.
Yep. So I'm kind of a reformed high volume flipper. So we did, about 700 houses over 5 or 6 years, flipping them and mostly selling them to turnkey investors all over the country and internationally as well. And we grew a big team, and we had just a lot going on. And over the last year and a half, I'd say we've been more focused on, well, we've really brought that portion of the business down. I'm still doing flips, but I have you know, I have a giant 4 by 8 foot whiteboard to my right, so I'm not staring into the ether. I'm actually staring at the whiteboard you can't see. But we've probably done, just with one partner, I've done like $2.2 million of acquisitions and 5 deals that'll do like almost 400 grand a gross annually in Airbnbs. And so trying to find ways to lever, you know, tools that we have and lessons that we've learned, but also to create, where's that 80/20 leverage? And so doing Airbnbs, and we've also done a lot more new construction and development. So we just did our first 99 lot full-blown development. So like literally from raw ground to develop lots and building houses as well.
Oh, that's phenomenal, man. So most of these, it sounds like you're kind of keeping them as short-term rentals, the good old STR model there, and just kind of expanding your portfolio in addition to selling off some of them. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, really over the last, 5 or 6 years prior to, like, say, the last 2 quarters, we really were more focused on doing them for other people. And so the vast majority of those we'd sold off. At this point now, I'm way more focused on building to rent to hold, built to hold. And then, we sell off some of these bigger pieces like, that 99 lot, duplex, or that 99 lot duplex lot deal, was biggest single transaction of my career. And just finding ways that we can do these, bigger deals that produce cash that are easier, and then, putting more and more dollars into that buy and hold side of things.
No, fantastic, man. So, and this is in which area of the country one more time?
So I'm out of Kansas City, and then we also operate in South Texas as well.
Okay, fantastic. So, how are you guys managing with the higher interest rates right now? Are you able to kind of float through this period a little bit better or capitalize on it because of some of the capital that you had socked away from previous deals during the low interest, or how's that working for you?
It's a great question, and I'm sure I'd love to hear that on the inspector side too. And I've talked to a bunch of appraiser buddies as well, and who definitely have been slower. But from our perspective, it's been a both and problem. So on one hand, there's some opportunities that are showing up now and starting to show up, which is great. And so we're really working on optimizing our capital. And I forgot to mention too, we have a real estate fund that we started about 12 months ago. It's a 506C, so accredited investor. So we've raised about 4.5 million or so in that, and so we've done deals in and out of that fund as well. So it's been really cool to help just like park some cash for people. But
Now, how far into your business did you guys decide to start bringing on investors?
we had really great luck with building a private money source over that period of time. So we scaled from literally, nothing to, almost 10 million in private capital that we were doing deals in and out of. And we just found that as we had more capital, it was way easier to put it into a debt fund that we could have access in and out versus like, you know, Brad's, 100 grand and John's 100 grand and whatever. That made it a lot more complex. So that made a huge difference. We launched the fund, I think, this is quarter number five or six. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Absolutely, man. Now, I've heard that another issue that's kind of facing investors right now is, or at least, house flippers and guys that are locking in these short-term rentals, is that some of these Airbnb properties are sitting vacant now. Have you noticed that same issue? And is this kind of just the time to hold on to that and look to expand? You kind of play the long game with it, or is that kind of creating its own problem to address?
Great question. I have friends, and we've been looking in multiple places. I almost got friends in low places, but I didn't quite get it in there. But we uh, we mainly operate those in Kansas City, and then we have a couple, or we have one right now in Texas. And I've looked in other markets, some stuff in Florida, stuff in Arizona, stuff in Minneapolis. So I'm pretty familiar with a number of markets, but we've really focused on higher end stuff. So stuff that produces say 60, 70,000 gross or more annually. And so we haven't really seen a huge dip in our, occupancy in those. It's still rolling. I have heard from people that, people with kind of that lower price point that was, say, like the entry price point for Airbnbs that was much lower and a lower occupancy. So, yeah, I don't know if that plays something into it. I also know, some people have modulated to I keep getting the music terms in there, modulated to, like a medium term rental. So, maybe they leave it furnished, but they do them on the 30 days, and they, maybe to drop their monthly rate down or their nightly rate down a little bit, but they're cash flowing, they're stable, keep that asset, above water, so to speak.
For somebody that's looking to get into the rental game and making some residual income off of an extra property, what would you recommend for them, going long term or finding that happy medium like you were talking about?
That's a really good question. I think it really depends on what their goals are. So, if you're looking for, you know, just simply buying and acquiring and building a, portfolio, certainly you can do that with single families. And I have owned, many over the years, and I still own, dozens of the kind of single family or, small multifamily units. Um, I will say that my, Airbnb units have produced per door more. But I would say, there probably is a little bit higher risk, whether it's with the market, or with, banks lending. So we've had a little bit, lower loan to values on those typically. Uh, but in cities, right? So you have that to deal with as well. So um, my approach is kind of honestly a little bit of both. So I'm buying some, small rentals that I can still burr into and cash flow positive, and the interest rates certainly have made that more interesting as well. And then, acquiring a higher end house that, when you figure, hey, that house, it's, I have one house that we bought the first of the year, like 330,000, put 100,000 in it, appraised for 540. So it's now, 575. And, it'll do 110,000 a year gross out of that house. So, I mean, that's like buying a business almost out of that one deal. So, it's certainly going to be part of my strategy continuing forward.
So,
Sure.
how did you, or what financial strategies did you take to fund some of your original investments?
Absolutely. So, you know, there's there's a line I use all the time with coaching students or people on my team or whatever, which is don't make money your problem, make your problem your problem. And so I think for somebody who's thinking about that, who doesn't have money or doesn't have, a chunk of change sitting there, what are the other things that you can do? Get your real estate license and learn. Go mentor with someone who's doing what you're doing. Offer to do it for free. Offer to do it for nothing, for small amount of money or whatever. That I hear all the time, people are upset that I didn't get 50% of a deal and I don't want to do it. I'm like, well, what are you bringing? Like, what are you bringing to the table? And so there's something, two things you can't buy: time and experience. And so you can earn that by, working and helping and bringing value to other people. And there's a beautiful book called Go Giver, and in that book, there's a story of this really successful person, and he is, still takes his time to help someone else uh, create something for themselves. And if we all have a little more go giver spirit in ourselves, and we look for ways, so Facebook groups, meetup groups, there's a thing called a RIA, real estate investment group, and find ways to plug in, be clear, more and more and more clear on what your vision is of what you want to create, so you know what you're asking for, and don't waste people's time. Show up, be prepared, know what you're talking about, have a clear ask, and have it together. Like, have your stuff together so that you are prepared and can bring something to the table with someone who's already doing what you want to do.
Dude, that's so good. And that's really the mentality you've got to have in home inspections anyway. I mean, if you're not prepared, if you're not there with a mindset that's ready to rock and present the information that's going to be most helpful to the person you're there to serve, then you're not going to make it very far in the field. So it sounds like
Absolutely.
those two attitudes kind of go hand in hand for those fields. That's pretty cool, man. Well, you mentioned a
Absolutely.
book. Yeah, you mentioned a book. Tell me all about yours. That's awesome that you put one together, man. What's it all about?
I appreciate that. Well, since I have it here, I have to show you again because it's so crazy that I'm holding on to this.
You're published, man.
It was really inspired to kind of talk even through some of the things we've talked about, which is like, where are you at? You feel stuck, you're not sure what to do, what are some actions you can take? But then talking through like, what does success look like and what does success not look like, at least in my, in my view, and then take you through some real estate 101. How do you prepare to actually be successful? What do you want that business to look like? And so this book was really inspired to be one of those that, one of the first you pick up if you're really thinking about real estate, that can take you through the whole process from sitting in that 9 to 5 job to creating a business and an extraordinary life around it.
No, that's phenomenal, man. Well, I can't wait to read it. Seriously, actually, I would love a signed copy. My bookshelf sitting right next to me in the studio over
Consider
here.
it done.
So, yeah, man, no, send one over. I can't wait to dig into it. Is it available online too, like
Yep,
Kindle?
it's
And
available. Yep, and there's an ebook too, so people could hit me up, and I can send a free, copy of the ebook, and then it's available, anywhere books are sold, so you can, find it on Barnes and Noble and Books a Million, Amazon, all those, Target. So it's out there, and eventually there'll be an audio version as well, but we just have the book for now.
well, thanks again so much for coming on. And any famous last words on the show
Famous last words.
that you want to leave someone with here?
I got a couple quotes on my board over here, so I'll read one. Today I will do what others won't, so tomorrow I can accomplish what others can't. Jerry Rice. And I love that quote, and I love thinking about, if there's something that you really want, people listening that really want, uh, it's right there. It's just a matter of if you're willing to do the work, put the work in, and have perseverance to what you want to create.